it is Sagittarius full moon, right? So we've gone into a fire sign, but we've also gone into a balancing sign, right? Sagittarius is ruled by temperance in tarot, so it's all about balance and alchemy and like going after what you want and transmuting the dark into light, you know. I just read at a witches market on the weekend, and I read 26 people in 2 days, and it was very theme based, you know. There's like this kind of this energy of like I only read for women, but very much a space of like women walking away from darkness, you know, in terms of relationships, their past, and like cutting that, saying goodbye to that and starting to choose for themselves a lot of peace, a lot of freedom, you know, in this kind of space. So it's very fitting that we just had the Scorpio full moon, and now we've got the Sagittarius full moon. So it's almost like, you know, the alchemist, you know, it's turning that darkness into light. So please use your discernment, you know. If the video is finding you, I believe the message is for you, but if it doesn't resonate, that's okay as well, you know. It's not going to resonate with everyone, and that's okay. So let's see what we have, right? So we have Ace of Pentacles, right? So this is what I'm kind of talking about, right? Like Ace of Pentacles is like, the aces are always something new, but in this case, it's like something new in the material world, right? It's like something's being born from, and I'm just kind of, you know, what I'm pulling is like something's being born from this darkness, you know. One thing that really came up in this festival, it's like our suffering defines us, right? But like you get to decide how it defines you, right? Does it define you as a victim, or does it define you as a character of strength because you overcame it? This is kind of your choice, yeah, but like, what do you build from that? What do you build from darkness? Do you build something? Do you go on to help other people? Do you start to really take care of your health? Do you start to prioritize your family? You know what I mean? Do you start to put that into your own business? This is Ace of Pentacles, yeah? So this is like the first card that's come up. So there's like a space. This is the soil is ripe for starting something new, you know, around the material realm. So around your health, you know, health was a big theme that kept coming up, you know. Without your health, you have nothing, yeah? Prioritize your health, you know. We underestimate how damaging it really is to do stuff we don't love, to do jobs that we hate. So maybe it's time like that we start, you know, choosing love over fear. Security is important, safety is important, obviously, but there's an understanding that, like, you know, actions have consequence, right? So the Ace of Pentacles is asking you to look into that space for something new, you know. Is it, like I said, is it time you prioritize your family? Is it time you start a strict budget so you can pull back work, you know? And it's like you can work less, but you can still be okay with money, you know, because you're budgeting things. Has your health taken a toll, and now it's time that you want to regenerate that, you know? You have to prioritize. Queen of Cups, she can hold it, man. This card, it's like she's sitting in the land, like on land, like sitting on a throne, but it looks like she's almost underwater, right? It looks like almost like she's a queen of the water world. And this is so representative, right? It's like she can hold it. She holds her darkness. She can hold her past. She can hold her present. She can hold her future. This is very much like what I was saying. She understands that our suffering defines us, but you make the choice, right? Life will never stop going up and down, no matter what choices you choose, no matter what path you choose. There is no easy path. How can you hold it? How can you hold both up and down? How can you hold the lows and the highs? You know, can you allow them both to teach you something? When you feel like you're being punished, can you reverse that and see it as a lesson? Okay, this is what I'm being taught, you know. But the Queen of Cups, she's in a role of power, you know. She is nurturing, she is creative, she's deep feeling, she's intuitive, you know. She's learnt all this, you know. This might be very much linked to this kind of Ace of Pentacles. It's like she sits at the top. The Ace of Pentacles is to her left and she sits at the top. So it's like, can you trust your intuition more? Can you trust your creativity more? Can you be more daring when it comes to that emotional, vulnerable world and build something in the material world from that, right? Then we have a Six of Swords. It's funny because I had this feeling when I was pulling this card that like, yeah, this is what we're coming from. We might have been coming from a little bit of a dark place. And then we're kind of making our fruits from that, right? And I pulled Six of Swords. So Six of Swords is very much about coming out of the dark woods. She's emerging from the dark woods. She has a candle. She puts the swords aside, right? You emerge from the dark space and you take what you've learned there and you move forward, right? Everything is perspective. No one gets an easy ride, but the people who can find the joy and the humor in life are the people that are not victims of their suffering. They choose to become heroes of that and they take that forward. You know, that is very much the Six of Swords. It's like she's not a victim of her suffering. She moves forward with it, right? So it's like all connected in this like message that we're getting. And then lastly, we have Seven of Pentacles. You know, again, Seven of Pentacles is that feeling where it's like you're way down, you're tired, you might feel a bit restless, and it just keeps going, it just keeps rolling on, you know, and you feel like you're always working and you're always tolling, and there's always more and more and more. But you know, in the card, it's like he's way down by his pentacles, but behind him there's a rainbow and a waterfall and it's all flowers, right? So this is like really a reminder. It's like you have to be able to rest and reflect. Rest and reflect will allow you to reflect on your achievements. Look what I've achieved. Look how far I've come, right? The rest and reflection will also allow you to feel. You know, if you're not feeling and processing things, you become stagnant waters. You become clogged up. You know, your mind is like a hard drive. If you're not processing and feeling through that, you're just clogged up. So you don't make room for something new, right? And then also it's like you got to keep looking up. You got to keep looking up and focusing on the lighter side of life. A reminder of like how far you've come. How far have you come? Write a list and reflect on the last 5 years in terms of what you've done. You know what I mean? There's like big themes around this about like emerging from a dark space, you know, especially of the mind, like maybe thoughts that have been quite detrimental, quite self-sabotaging, not being able to trust yourself, moving away from that. And that's been quite exhausting because you're feeling like, even though you're coming out of it, you're like, oh, I'm still working all the time, but something new is going to be born from that, something newer. But you make the choices, you know what I mean? Like you have, if you keep making the same decisions, if you keep engaging the same thought patterns, then you're never going to see a new result, right? But the Ace of Pentacles is like, hey, it's the right time. The soil is ripe to branch into something new, whatever that means. You know, I think with the Queen of Cups, it's like we see that like you've moved into a bit of a timeline shift, you know, and you've moved into a higher timeline because now it's the Queen, it's the mother. So it's an exciting time because you can take that darkness and create something special with it, you know. And like what we see is we see these themes repeating themselves. We see the darkness and then we see the light. We see the darkness and then we see the light. And it just keeps going around, you know. Let's see what our oracle cards have to say on the side of it. But if you feel like you've been in a bit of a heavy time and you feel like you are coming out of it, you might feel a bit exhausted still, like you're always constantly working, but something new is forming. You can create something in the material world, it's ready for that, but start thinking about your finances, start thinking about your work, start thinking about your health, your home. What changes can you make that's going to enable you to birth something new? What's something that's really been drowning you in the past that you don't want to be drowning about with anymore? So what moves can you make? You know, what can you shake? These popped out. So what have we got? We've got fertility and we've got magic. This is very much linked to the Queen of Cups, right? Fertility, the Queen of Cups, it's like, you know, she's the Queen of Water, right? So she's feminine, so uber fertile, you know what I mean? But like fertility is like, yeah, she's like budding and she's ready to be picked and she's blooming and she's full of life, yeah, but it's also like gritty and dirty and birthing and, you know, everything that goes with birthing. It's the same of this idea of like birthing something new in the material world. Fertility, birthing something new in the material world, stepping into extra power, you know. Fertility doesn't just mean children, it means anything, but it's a fertile time. And magic. I can't underestimate how important magic is. You know, this is kind of the witch archetype in the video I just spoke about, the good girl is ruining your life. It's like you have to invite that magic and that witch into your life. This is really important in this time with everything that's going on in the world. We have to believe in the magic. We have to call in the magic. We have to call in that witch archetype. She's our strength. She's our power. She's our ability to say no more of this. I don't want to do this anymore. This is not making me happy. I want to choose love. I want to choose love over fear. Even if it's scary sometimes, you know, this is why magic's coming to us. It's like you have to believe in the unseen. You have to believe in the unknown. You have to take leaps of faith, you know, and hope that it'll work out. It's a strong spread, and it's very much about birthing something new, calling in the magic, learning from your suffering, you know, being able to hold the dark and the light and to keep going, you know, and don't forget to that list. I'm telling you, write that list. If someone's watching this and they write that list, share with us if you want to share it about like, what are you grateful for that you've achieved in the last 5 years, you know? I like quit my job, I birthed my son, I started my tarot business, I started this YouTube channel, I started my Substack, and like everything's just like going from strength to strength, you know? I really feel like that with the Ace of Pentacles, that I'm like really starting to build something in this world that's for me, not for them, for me, you know? And it's like we live on a really tight budget, but it's allowed us to save money without having to make extra money. And every time my husband and I go into these dark cycles of, you know, when we're in our heads and we're thinking about this and we're processing things, that's when it's the most budding time. Right after that dark period is when you feel like this is the most magical time now. This is when I see my fruits, you know? It's fertility and it's magic, you know? You got to trust in the unseen. You got to trust in the magic, you know? Anyway, my loves, I hope this message resonates. I hope you feel like you're emerging from a dark place and you feel like you feel like there might be magic from that. You feel, because you've gone through it, you can create something new now. You know, it's in the cards. This is the time to be building something in the material world. Keep going, yeah? You've leveled up. Anyway, I hope this message resonates. If it doesn't, no worries, and I will see you next time.